Blood filled his right eye, completely blinding it, while the entire left side of his body lay numb and paralyzed. A bullet lodged in his skull, yet below him lay 560 nautical miles of hostile Pacific Ocean. His plane, a ghost of what it once was riddled with holes, its canopy simply gone. For Imperial Japanese Navy pilot Saburō Sakai, the choice should have been simple: die alone in the vast empty sea, or attempt an impossible 4.5-hour flight back from the dead. Even before this moment, Saburō Sakai was already becoming a legend. Born into a family with samurai ancestry, he was raised on the code of Bushido, a philosophy that prized discipline and honor above all else. That's the mindset he carried with him when he enlisted in the Imperial Japanese Navy in 1933 and endured its notoriously brutal training. By 1942, he was one of Japan's most feared flying aces, a true master of the Mitsubishi A6M0 fighter. His official count was 28 aerial victories, but his personal claims were much, much higher. The Zero wasn't just a plane to him, it was an extension of his body. He said it was the most sensitive aircraft he'd ever flown, where the slightest pressure from his fingers got an instant response. It was a marvel of long-range flight and agility, but that performance came at a terrifying price. To save weight, the Zero was built with almost no armor and no self-sealing fuel tanks. If a Zero took too many hits, it didn't just get damaged, it often became a ball of fire. This vulnerability was made worse by Japanese military doctrine. Unlike Allied forces, who rotated their best pilots out of combat to train new ones, Japanese pilots flew until they were killed or too wounded to continue. There was no going home. This created a corps of unbelievably skilled but exhausted pilots who knew every single mission could be their last. For a man like Sakai, turning back was never an option. Giving up was unthinkable. August 7, 1942. The fate of the war is pivoting on a tiny, jungle-choked island called Guadalcanal. American Marines have just landed in the first major Allied ground offensive against Japan, and the Imperial Navy scrambles to respond. From a distant base in Rabaul, New Britain, Sakai and his squadron of Zeros take off on a grueling 560-mile mission to hit the American invasion fleet. The air battle is absolutely ferocious. Sakai, a veteran of over 200 missions, is in his element. He gets into a dramatic one-on-one duel with an American F-4F Wildcat, flown by Ace James "Pug" Sutherland. The Wildcat is tough. It soaks up machine gun fire that would have torn a Zero apart, but Sakai's skill wins out. He damages Sutherland's plane badly, forcing the American to bail out. Feeling that rush of victory, Sakai spots what he thinks is another group of 8 Wildcat fighters. He pushes his Zero into a climb, getting below and behind them for a surprise attack. But as he gets closer, he realizes he's made a catastrophic mistake. These aren't fighters. They're SBD Dauntless dive bombers, and each one has a rear-facing twin machine gun. Before he can react, he has flown directly into a kill box of 16 machine guns. The world explodes. The Zero's canopy shatters, blasting plexiglass and metal into his face and chest. A .30 caliber bullet smashes through the instrument panel, rips into his head, and lodges in his skull. The impact is devastating. His vision in his right eye is just gone, replaced by a river of blood. His entire left side goes numb, paralyzed. His plane, mortally wounded, rolls over and spirals toward the sea. For any other pilot, this would have been the end. But in the falling, shattered wreck of his Zero, Saburō Sakai refused to die. The blast of cold air from the missing canopy shocked him back to consciousness just long enough to pull the plane out of its dive. He was alive, but barely. He was blind in one eye, half paralyzed, and the pain was blinding. His first instinct was the way of the samurai. If he had to die, he would die with honor. He scanned the horizon, looking for an American warship to crash into, to take an enemy with him. But there was nothing. Just the endless, indifferent blue of the Pacific. Then another instinct kicked in, the will to live. He began an agonizing 560-mile journey back to Rabaul, a flight that would take 4 hours and 47 minutes. The pain was a constant enemy, so he fought to stay conscious by deliberately poking at his wounds. With his left side useless, He flew using only his right hand and right foot. Blood kept pooling in his good left eye, so every so often he would roll the plane upside down just to let it drain out. The physical battle was matched by the mental one. He fought off waves of unconsciousness, knowing that to fall asleep meant death. He used his silk aviator's scarf to tie a makeshift bandage around his head, trying to stop the bleeding. With his instruments shot to hell, he navigated by instinct, using the volcanic peaks of islands he recognized as guides. Hour after hour, he flew on, a ghost in a skeleton of a plane, waging a private war against his own body. After nearly 5 hours, a shadow appeared on the horizon. Raboul. He'd made it. But the fight wasn't over. Now he had to land a mangled plane with no canopy, a sputtering engine, a paralyzed body, and one functioning, blood-filled eye. He circled the airfield 4 times, his fuel gauge on empty. On his first approach, he almost plowed into a line of parked Zeros. His comrades on the ground stared in disbelief at the blood-stained, canopyless fighter, wondering who or what was flying it. Gathering the last ounce of his strength, Sakai tried again. He brought the plane down, skidding along the runway before lurching to a stop. The ground crew swarmed the plane. When they pulled him from the cockpit, they were met with a horrific sight. Sakai, drenched in blood and barely conscious, staggered out. But before he would accept any medical help, he insisted on delivering his mission report to his commanding officer, standing tall until the last word was spoken. Only then did he finally collapse. Saburō Sakai's fight for survival was far from over. If you find stories of incredible human resilience like this fascinating, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell. You won't want to miss our next dive into history's most unbelievable survivors. Sakai was rushed to a surgeon who was amazed the man was even alive. He was evacuated to Japan, where he had to endure a long, agonizing surgery on his head without anesthesia. The operation fixed some of the damage, but they couldn't save the sight in his right eye. He would be permanently half-blind. As he recovered, his story spread like wildfire through the ranks of Japanese pilots, becoming a legend. While many great aces were forgotten after the war, Sakai's ordeal was so dramatic, so unbelievable, it cemented his place in history. Most men would never fly again, but Saburō Sakai wasn't most men. After a year of training new pilots, he successfully convinced his superiors to let him return to combat. In April 1944, with only one good eye, he was flying missions again. In one legendary incident, he accidentally flew toward 15 American F-6F Hellcat fighters, mistaking them for friendly planes. Outnumbered and with impaired vision, he managed to evade every single one of their attacks for over 20 minutes and returned to base without a scratch. After the war, life was hard. He struggled to find work and his first wife passed away. But the same spirit that got him through that hellish flight guided him on the ground. He started a successful printing shop and eventually remarried. His autobiography, Samurai, made him famous worldwide. But what's truly remarkable is that the fierce warrior became a devout Buddhist and a pacifist, vowing to never again take a life, not even a mosquito's. Saburō Sakai passed away in 2000 at the age of 84, right after attending a dinner as a guest of honor with the U.S. Navy. That 560-mile flight was more than just a display of skill. It was a nearly 5-hour war waged inside a shattered cockpit and a broken body. It stands as a powerful testament to the idea that the most important part of any machine isn't the engine or the armor, but the unbreakable spirit of the person at the controls. A spirit that, for one man, turned certain death into a legend that will never die.